Hey guys, welcome to the databits channel. On this channel, you'll see some great ideas you can use for show prep. So while you're watching this video, you may see something in it that you can just take out and make your own entire video about it. And that's fine if you want to do that. That's what we're here to do, is provide you great ideas. So here we are with the Sylvania USB battery operated turntable. Now this is not a serious audiophile turntable that we're going to talk about today. This is really a toy, and it's so much of a toy that it actually operates on batteries, very much like the 80s and 90s and maybe even 70s record players that were made for kids that operated on batteries. This is kind of the same concept. It doesn't really say who it's for, but based on the quality and all the plastic, it's probably going to fall into a toy record player category. And we'll go over the features of it here momentarily. The model number on this booger is STT008USB green, and it does have the Sylvania name on it. It does not say Crosley, although I believe Crosley makes one that's nearly identical, but you know, we're going to stay away from that name as much as possible. So some of the fun toy records that you can play on this, I have some examples here. I've got some Monster Fun records. These are from Burger Chef, and when I was a kid, I actually was crazy about records and had my mom take me to Burger Chef just so I could collect these records that were contained in a fun meal. They weren't called a Happy Meal, they were a fun meal. Now, there's a little bit of differentiation between these two. In other words, there's like two versions out there. Deerfield, Illinois was one of the plants where Evatone had a facility to make these records. The other one was in Clearwater, Florida. So both of those are indicated here at the bottom of the record. One of the records says Monster Fun Sounds. The other one says Monster Fun Records. So I don't know if it was a kind of a thing that came out and then was reissued at a later date, but they came in all these really cool colors. I have 3 from the series that I've collected over the years. These did not survive my childhood. Over here I have a couple of examples of records you may have seen on my channel before. Right here is a hip pocket record. This is a 45 RPM single, 2 sides, 2 songs, and these came out in the 1960s. This particular record here is a 33 1/3 RPM record that was packaged in with a talking Viewmaster, and I did do an entire video on that on my channel that you can take a look at. If you look at the back of this particular disc, you'll see that there is a special offer, and you could send in a rebate or send some proofs of purchase and get you this Philco Ford mini radio record player. So when I saw this particular record player, I was like, hey, that kind of reminds me of that, and I wonder if it would play these hip pocket records, and it in fact does. So we'll get to see that here shortly. Also over here on the left, we have 2 cardboard records that again came from my past, from the 1980s. This is Great Moments in Rock and Roll, and this was from a little product known as Quaker Granola Dips. And it is a completely cardboard record, paper record with some kind of thin plastic material on top that the record was actually stamped into. And the quality is pretty poor, but it does get the message across. Same thing here with this McDonald's record, which was really like a game card. So you get those scratch-off tickets when you play the lottery. Imagine if you didn't get a scratch-off ticket, you got a record. And you would bring the record home and put it on your turntable and find out if you were an instant winner. So I'll play you a little bit of each one of those. Over here I've got the audio disc. This is an acetate record that probably from the 1940s or 50s. This was cut in a studio, more than likely, and not on a home recorder like you've seen on my channel, simply because you have lead in and lead out grooves, which is something most home recorders were not capable of. So the reason I have this out is because I'm using it for a turntable for some of my larger records, okay? And I'll show you why you might need that for these flexible discs to be played on the Sylvania player. But first, let's take a look at the record player up close and see what kind of cool features it has. So let's take a look at this toy record player up close, this Sylvania record player. Now, what a funky design. Somebody that came over to our house and saw it actually said it reminded them somewhat of a toilet, because if you turn it around this way, you have a, the bowl part that you sit on, and you have a lid that moves up and down. So I thought that was really clever and really helpful in choosing the design of a particular product. It also kind of reminds me of a sewing machine. If you take it and you turn it upside down this way, then you kind of have the heavier part of the sewing machine on top, and then you have the base down at the bottom. So some really clever design there. I did tell you that I got this at a low price, so the sticker on the top here may be the reason it was returned. It's got a crinkled up Sylvania sticker on the top. So as we open up the lid, we'll see the basic parts of any record player. You have a place where the tone arm rests. Actually, it has two places for the tone arm to rest. You got it over here, and then this little kickstand that comes up to kind of make the unit a little bit more compact and ready to travel. Over here you have an LED indicator light. This is your on and off switch here, like turns the amplifier on and off. You have a 45 RPM adapter, which you can take out there and put it in the middle. Pretty handy place to keep it. You have a little rubber mat here, a really kind of flimsy rubber mat as your turntable mat. And then the turntable itself is completely plastic, but it's, it's fairly solid. It's not bad for what it does. So let's go ahead and put this back in its resting place, and then we will flip it to the back. On the back here, you'll see a small array of jacks and switches. Over here, we have our 33 and 45 RPM speed selector, not in the most convenient place. Tiny little speaker right there. It is not stereo. However, you can output stereo through the headphone jack or through the USB port and plug it into your computer. You have a ability to switch between USB and battery, so you can actually plug in a small 5-volt power supply and hook it into this USB port and power it that way, or put in some AA batteries, which is what I've done here. So let's flip it over. It does have 4 little rubber feet on the bottom of it to protect your furniture. And then right here is the battery compartment. I've got some mixed batteries in there, all alkaline, of course. And we'll go ahead and put our little panel back on there. Got our serial number here on the bottom, nameplate with Sylvania's name more than likely being borrowed in this case, not really made by Sylvania. What does Sylvania even make anymore? That is a really good question. Maybe appliances, right? So that pretty much sums up the design and usage of this. I'm really not sure functionally what this lid does, except that it perhaps offers a little bit of style. There are some turntables online that you can buy that basically have this design here without the lid, and they are a little bit cheaper than this one was. I think this one runs about 40 bucks, and I paid about half of that due to it being a warehouse deal. But it's got a sturdy metal tone arm here, maybe aluminum, not sure what kind of metal that is right there. But it's a nice standard tone arm that you would see on any cheap record player that's out there today. So let's go ahead and give her a demo and let you know what it sounds like and how it functions. And then what we'll do is I'll connect this to my computer and dub in some sound from one of the discs and let you hear what it sounds like directly, so that if you want to buy one of these and just casually dub some of your discs off to MP3, you'll be able to hear what that sounds like. All right, so let's go ahead and get some records on there. Okay, for our first record, we're going to go ahead and play the Hip Pocket record, as mentioned earlier. Go ahead and turn on my power button here. You'll see that the light indicates. And we'll go ahead and put that little kickstand down. I've set my speed to 45 RPM. And let's go ahead and see if this little record will play. All right, sounds pretty good, right? So that's Tommy James and the Shondells on that particular disc. One of these Viewmaster records, we'll throw that on there. Again, this is a 33, so I've got to switch my speed selector in the back, and we'll just pop it in the middle here. Okay, we're getting some slippage, so let's put on this aluminum 45 RPM adapter. That should fix that. And you can hear one of these almost in its entirety on my channel. So let's move over to the cardboard records. So our first one is this McDonald's cardboard record. And let's see, yeah, that's 33 as well. Now it does have a little bit of trouble tracking this one, so we'll see what happens. Little thin grooves.
Oh, repeat after me. Repeat after me. No, no. No, no. Okay. Okay. Here goes. Here goes. Big Mac McDLT, a quarter pounder with some cheese fillet, a fish, a hamburger, a cheeseburger, a Happy Meal, McNuggets, tasty golden French fries, regular or larger size of salad, chef or garden, with bacon, egg, and cheese or something.
Yep, see a little skip there. Lots of skip there. Okay, take that one off. Now this Quaker Granola Dips one is very well done, even though it's kind of warped. It plays pretty good.
Quaker Granola Dips presents great moments in rock and roll. Stay tuned and find out if you are an instant winner.
We'll throw one of the Monster Fun sounds on there. I'm using this aluminum 45 RPM adapter that I purchased a while back. Works great for weighing down these particular records, these discs. And we'll turn her on, put our little arm on the disc here, see what we get.
Trembling Tomatoes Burger Chef, here comes Fangburger the vampire.
Burger Chef and Jeff, I'm feeling lower than the grave digger's shoelaces. I'm about to lose my business. Well, what business is that, Fangburger? I'm going to have to close my hotel, the Haunted Pool.
But that's the only hotel in Transylvania.
Yes, but everybody says it's haunted. I can't get any guests. Looks like I'll have to sell out to Nathan Bildhire, the famous hotel magnate.
Bankrupt burger.
I'm about to play you one of the coolest records ever, and I have it in almost its entirety on my channel. It might actually be in its entirety. But you set the 33 record on there, 33 and a third RPM, LP, and we're going to set the record on there, set the tone arm on there.
The season now is cold and white, and all the trees are bare. The grass is brown and flowers down, but I don't seem to care. 'Cause even though my toes get tight when I walk to the store, I know there's heat for my poor feet, and cold means even more.
Some great music from the 1970s there, advertising a, I guess, a heating and air conditioning system. It's called the 8 Seasons of Chromalox. All right, so our next step is to take one of these records, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer Great Moments in Rock and Roll over to an MP3 file for you, and we'll take a listen to that in this next piece. So transferring the sound from the record player to your computer is really a piece of cake. First, you'll take the cable that is supplied with the unit and plug it into the USB plug in the back, and then go over and flip the switch that says USB. So you'll depress that switch. Then on the other end of the cable, you're just going to plug it into your laptop or personal computer, and then download the free version, if they're I think maybe they're all free, but download the free software known as Audacity, and the process begins. So inside Audacity, if I click up here where it says click to start monitoring, something I don't like begins happening. It looks like we're getting a little bit of noise from this turntable already. It's like we're not even playing anything and we're getting something there. So we'll find out when we actually do the recording what it is that is indicating. One thing I noticed when I started recording is that it was extremely loud, and changing the volume control on the record player did not change it. So what I needed to do was go into this sound setting here in my control panel, and Windows thinks this is a microphone. So what you do is you double click on that or go to the properties of that, and then go to the levels tab up at the top and set your microphone level to about, we'll try 70 in this case.
Quaker Granola Dips presents Great Moments in Rock and Roll. Stay tuned and find out if you are an instant winner. July 19th, 1985, the greatest humanitarian event in the history of rock and roll. 2 billion people watched it on TV and heard it on radio. Live Aid. Not since Woodstock 16 years earlier had such a stellar lineup been assembled for one live outdoor concert. Power Station, Madonna, Phil Collins, Paul Young, Duran Duran, Hall & Oates, the Thompson Twins, Robert Plant, Jimmy Page, and John Paul Jones, Bryan Adams, U2, and that barely scratches the surface. One goal was set by those who took part in Live Aid: to end the human tragedy of world hunger in our lifetime. In the morning at Philadelphia's JFK Stadium, REO Speedwagon had the crowd on their feet. While Philadelphia rocked this continent, London's Wembley Stadium kept the excitement at a fever pitch in its corner of the world. Things really began to heat up back in Philly when the Thompson Twins hit the stage with a song and a message that captured the spirit of the day. One of the many highlights of the day was in the evening at Philadelphia when Eric Clapton and his band laid down a blistering set featuring Layla and Clapton's most recent hit, She's Waiting. All in all, July 19th, 1985's Live Aid concert gave rock and roll a chance to show its compassionate side. It gave us a chance to give the starving people of the world a chance to live. This is only one of the great moments in rock and roll. Collect them all from Quaker Granola Dips. We're sorry you're not a winner, but try again to be one of the more than 20,000 winners by collecting all 5 great moments in rock and roll from Quaker Granola Dips.